While we're waiting, did the minutes get sent out from the last
They're,
meeting?
they're in the package. If you went to the office, you can see the minutes there. I don't think they don't normally mail them to us. They usually hand deliver them to us.
Hey, Scott, this is Tony.
Hi, Tony.
You know, you were talking earlier, you said if you get cut off and everything, and you could just use your hand, raise your hand. Well,
Yes.
across the bottom of my screen, they show a participants, a shared screen, live transmission, a raised hand, and setting. So I don't know if that raised hand is something that can be punched on there or not, but it's on my screen.
Yeah, we have it now.
Okay, I didn't know if you.
I'll raise my hand. You'll see it. See it?
Yeah, I see it. Right.
I'm gonna lower it now.
See mine. Okay.
Do it again, Tony. Not your that's your real hand.
Oh, I see. Raise the
Oh,
other hand. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a virtual. There you go. Now you're cooking. All right.
Okay. All right. We'll get this down pat yet.
And Dave, I think I owe you an apology. I had to come in a different way to find the minutes. I went to the City of Menifee's webpage under committees, agendas, minutes, and videos. And that's where I found the minutes. There's a link there for Parks and Recreation Commission. And then under documents, it says HTML agenda. I think that's where I found the minutes. Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm searching right now, actually, on that site.
But then you have to click it and then go actually to the agenda itself. And then there'll be different links to download the PDF of the minutes. You'll see there's a different download for each item. Were you able to find it?
I found the agenda.
And if you look,
Okay, perfect. The broadcast is back up on YouTube. Test one last time. Test, can you guys hear us in the council chambers and in Zoom?
I can hear you in Zoom.
We can hear you in here.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Chair Bangle, I think we can proceed.
Okay, Stephanie, do you want to resume?
Yeah. I'll start over real quick. Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. I wanted to take a minute to present to you a brief presentation on our redistricting process that is underway for the City of Menifee. It is redistricting purely for City Council districts. So we wanted to give this to you, and when you're out in the community, if you're talking to somebody and it comes up and we still have a little bit of time, to get people and their input brought in. So I'll show you different ways that we can have the public and you guys participate. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. Can you guys see okay? Okay. So real quick, redistricting and why it's important. How and where the districts are drawn can shape communities' ability to elect the representatives of their choice. Districts must be made in an equal population as practical so that communities have equal access to political representation. What is the timeline for the process? So November, we got the census presentation and we presented to the city council. In December and January, we held, 2 public workshops in December out in the community, and January we did hold one just on the 29th. Last night at the council meeting, we presented the first set of draft maps, and then moving forward, we'll have another draft map presentation after council's direction last night and some more public comments that came in. We will be revising what was presented to the council. And then in March, we are looking at the first reading of an ordinance, and then at the second meeting at council, the adoption of the ordinance and the new districts. So the legal criteria for redistricting is the goal is to really get an equal population in all 4 of our districts. It's the US Constitution's Equal Protection Clause. We also have to go by the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and other traditional redistricting criteria. There's a few things that we have to look at when we're drawing our new boundaries. Continuity is where all of the parts of the district should connect. So we can't have part of a district over in, like, top left corner and then the next one on the top right and they don't connect. Compactness, they should all be, again, kind of touching, and you should be able to get to any part of a single district without crossing the other districts. Districts should utilize boundaries such as geographic streets and political boundaries and conform to school attendance zones. And communities of interest such as neighborhoods. For us, we have the Sun City area. So communities of interest districts should preserve those neighborhoods sharing common interest. So this is a quick glance at our current district map. So we can see District 4 kind of jumps over. This would be the 215 freeway. District 4 jumps the freeway, and so does District 3. One of the changes that we do need to look at is because there has been some pretty heavy development within District 2 in the Audie Murphy Ranch. The population numbers have increased in District 2's area. So there's a few ways that the public can provide input. There's attending any of our meetings. So like I said, we have another, we have a city council meeting in February and then 2 more in March. There's also online, they can go to cityofmenifee.us/redistricting and they can submit, there's an electronic public comment form. You can also print it out and you can come into City Hall, you can email. There's also going to be an online mapping tool that you can actually draw your own maps to submit to us for consideration. And then you can submit those draft maps to myself, I apologize, srosine@cityofmenifee.us. So this kind of goes in, same information. What we're seeking from the public are those streets and boundaries and points of interest that define your community. And does your community have any major geographical boundaries? Is your community similar to other neighboring communities? And what are the shared interests? So these are all questions that are available on that public input form. To preserve communities that share common interest and should be included in a single district in order to have effective and fair representation. Examples would be housing patterns, common culture, language, public services, and points of interest. So this was our draft map 1 that was presented to council last night. As I mentioned, there's going to be revisions that will be presented at the next city council meeting. One of the topics of concern at last night's meeting was the Oasis community, which did get inadvertently kind of bisected. So that's going to be looked at being corrected. And then we also had draft map 2. This had the same issue within the Oasis community. And so again, we're going to get a couple more draft maps presented. Just to follow up again, so that February 2nd was last night's meeting. We have February 16th, March 2nd, and March 16th. Keep an eye out on those agendas. The times will be right around 6 o'clock, but they'll get a little bit more specific once we get those agendas out. So this is our redistricting website. You can find it on the city's page, and for the public to find, they can look for this how to participate and email. This has been updated on the website. And then there's a link to the online mapping tool that I discussed earlier. Again, this is kind of a quick look at what that public input form looks like on the website. And the links for the online mapping tool can be found right there. Are there any questions so far? Okay, I'm going to switch views real quick, and I'm going to go and take a look at the online mapping tool and give a quick demonstration on how to use it. So as I mentioned, I'm on the city's website, and you can click to access that website here, and you'd be brought in. You do need to create a quick user to access the website, and you would come to this page. So we can create our own map, and you should be brought to this option here for templates. You can actually start with the current map and make edits from there, or you can start with a blank map and start from scratch. So if I were to use the current template, you're going to see it's going to bring up what our current districts are. So the goal is, when we're drawing these maps, is to get a check mark, this green check mark, in all 4 districts. What that's going to tell us is that we have within the correct deviation amount of population within each district. So how we do that is we would come over here. Right now it's selected in block groups, which would be these kind of big squares. This is how these block groups and blocks were determined as part of how the census numbers were taken. So when you're starting off new, it's kind of helpful to start in the big groups. And then once you click blocks, you'll see it gets a lot smaller, and you can zoom in and start selecting smaller areas. You can change up your tools here. Like I had the pointer, you can actually do a big square and get more area. The key is to make sure that you are in the district that you want to start editing. So right now I am clicked on District 1. And if I wanted to start going and making changes and adding to the district, because you can see we have a gray down arrow here. So we need a little bit more population in District 1. So I'm going to go in here and I can start clicking the area to add to District 1, and I can click accept. And now that's all green, but I'm still too low, so I'm going to keep going there. And you can see we have a green check, which is good. And I'll accept. So now we're good for District 1. And that's kind of a brief presentation on how to do it. What you can also look at is to evaluate what you've done. So if I came over here to on the right-hand side to the evaluate button and click that, it's going to tell me that I'm not quite hitting the mark on these. So my equal population, only two out of the 4 districts have equal representation, and the continuity is not there for one of my districts. So this is a way to kind of check your map to make sure we're following all of those guidelines that go back to our required laws. So I can just exit out and you would continue to start building your map in the area. So just keep clicking on the district that you need to add to, and till you get the numbers that would create those 4 green check marks. Again, we want to try to keep districts in the same area, not crossing over. One of the good lines is the freeway and Newport are good main intersections. But that's what we're looking for. So are there any questions?
Stephanie, since no one else is raising their hand, you mentioned the Oasis. I understand one of the proposals, or maybe a couple of the proposals, were to split it in half down Aldergate. I know you received a lot of negative comments. Is it the council's direction to make sure that the Oasis remains whole, or do we need to get more involved?
No, from the council's direction last night, the draft maps that will be presented at the next meeting will have that corrected. It was one of those things where our demographer, by looking at aerial views and things like that, didn't realize that Aldergate is a private street that bisected that community. So that will be corrected and kept whole. That's part of also that communities of interest that we're looking for the public to come out and say, hey, we're the Oasis, we're a gated community, we need to stay all in one district. So since we got a good amount of public comment back last night, we are taking that into consideration, and that'll be adjusted.
Okay, thank you. We see David, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Stephanie, what's the acceptable deviation between districts? I noticed that the percentages, of course, changes with the population. What's acceptable? Within 2%, 3%, 5%?
It needs to be, oh goodness. Let me get
It's 0.5%.
0.5. Thank you.
0.5. Awesome. That's an awesome tool, though.
Next, we have Commissioner Amarelli. You have a question?
Yeah, I was looking at, when they redistrict, I saw the maps and everything. Do the school districts have any bearing on the way they divide those districts up?
No,
we have no, in here it's a senior community, so we have no grade school, no high school, or nothing involved. Now, does that have any bearing on how they draw up the lines? Because it drew up a lot of concern in here, I'll tell you. I got more phone calls than I know what to do with the other day because, Commissioner Commitment Dines is our district man here, and everybody said, oh, you know him, call him up real quick. And so anyway, the point is, it's kind of scared people when they said they wanted to divide the community in half. And I didn't know what criteria they were using there. I thought, well, gee, why would they want to separate it or cut it in half like that? They wouldn't want to do it with any other community, I don't think. But then again, it depends on where the population is. Like, is that the population they're interested in or what?
So for the Oasis, it was kind of a mishap of that being bisected.
Okay.
What our demographer looks at is good, clean lines to create those boundaries, and inadvertently bisected that community. But as discussed, when new draft maps are presented in 2 weeks for the council, I'm sure don't have those yet, but I'm sure we will see that being corrected. As far as school districts are concerned, this is purely for your city council district. So this does
Okay.
not have to do with anything with school districts.
All right. Thank you.
Are there any, Commissioner Gilroyce?
Gidroyce. Just for pronunciation, Gidroyce.
Gilroyce.
There you go. Thanks, Scott.
I'm sorry. Did I add L?
Stephanie, the census is every 10 years. So what we're mapping out is going to hold for 10 years. Is that correct?
That is correct. So even as
Okay,
new develop, I'm sorry, Commissioner.
You just took the words out of my mouth. Is there a way to, even though I realize we haven't got the new developments yet, the city's going to change quite a bit with all the new construction. Has anybody worked on any overlays to give us a notion about how it's going to look down the road? It would be helpful in drawing these lines.
So what we have to base these district lines off on the current census. We have to do it off the current numbers. So future development will be taken into consideration in 10 years once that development is in and those new census numbers are taken.
Understood. I'm just thinking if there's a way to overlay it with some projected numbers for the sake of when we draw those lines, trying to keep everything in continuity.
I don't think that has been done yet.
Okay.
But that is something maybe I can look into and see if that's something our demographer consultant can look into. That would probably take a lot of coordination with possibly community development department as well to look at what that future development is coming in.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you so much.
Stephanie, it's fair to say there's other agencies. I know the water district's looking at redistricting, and of course the county. I think there's a good chance we may be in a different district in the future with a different supervisor. So a lot of changes are occurring right now with all the growth.
In Assembly, State Senate as well.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. Every 10 years when those new census numbers are going to kind of kick off everybody drawing their new districts.
Okay, I don't see any more hands. So if there's no more questions, I'd like to thank you for your presentation, Stephanie. And we'll move on the agenda.
Thank you.
We have approval of minutes. Do I have a motion? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, can you announce your name so that they can take it down for the future minutes? So I think we had Commissioner Faust made a motion, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
That's correct.
Gilroyce did the
I'll be
second.
the second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, hearing none. Minutes passed. Next, we have item 6, agenda approval or modifications. Mr. Nix, do we have any modifications that we need to know about?
Yes, there's one modification to the agenda. We mistakenly put Chair Amarelli. It should be our new Chair Bangle on the agenda. So we modified that, and that's what's posted on the website now.
Can you also make sure that we have the Vice Chair corrected as well?
Yes, we also did correct the Vice Chair. Yes.
Okay, I'll be sure to get his name pronounced correctly in the future. I'll do my very best. Jonathan,
Excuse me, this is Tony. To stay out of trouble with Tom, don't you use his last name, just say Tom.
well,
I'm telling you.
Good idea.
Real quick.
I was trying to be a little more formal, but thank you. Thanks for that advice. And then Jonathan, when you were speaking, it was like you were in an echo chamber, just so you'll know.
Yeah, I had my audio on my laptop, so I turned that off. Is that better now?
Better, but not wonderful. So, yeah.
I think we're still having some slight issues here in the chambers, but
Looks like we might have to gloss over a lot of these items tonight real quick for our own hearing. Anyway, next we have public comments. Did we have any, I know you mentioned someone was in the house, Mr.
yes, there's a Mr. Matthew Gilmore, so we're going to try to see if he can speak at the podium.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. I understand I have 3 minutes to speak on each subject. Being that I'm the only person here, I would beg your permission to go 4 minutes on my second comment. I think my first one will be 2 minutes, but I'll begin and you can cut me off if you want me to. So I have 2 issues to bring before the commission. The first one is work order status reports by the city staff. I wanted to address the concern I have, and I believe the Parks Commission expressed during their last meeting, which I attended. The commission inquired regarding the report of completed work orders and how the math did not appear to add up. From my personal experience, reported maintenance and vandalism work orders are marked resolved, even though the equipment has not been repaired or restored to its original design. Let me preface this by acknowledging that parts are not always available, manufacturers close, and it becomes impossible to repair some equipment in its current design. This is acknowledged. My concern is that in order to keep the Parks Commission accurately appraised of the work order status and to ensure accountability, a more accurate category needs to be created, which does not apparently exist. This category would be called deferred. Case in point, I reported 3 separate reports of damage and vandalism at Lyle and Marsh Park. Reference work orders 910750. They submitted 23 January. Reported missing fence sections. It was marked as resolved. Order 910748 submitted 123 regarding missing cap and broken plank. And 921596 reported on 2/2 of this year regarding sharp broken protruding fence section into the public walk path, also marked resolved. As of February 2nd, the cap noted missing and its associated broken fence plank have not been repaired, understandably, if parts are not available. The concern is that once the work orders are closed and resolved, it becomes out of sight, out of mind. How does the city track outstanding issues that require correction in the future when funds are available to replace equipment that is not currently available? Once the project is initiated to address all outstanding issues at a park, the status of the work order could be marked deferred to project 1234. This allows visibility, accountability, and ability of the city to mark off permanently resolved as all issues that were awaiting funding in this project by searching their database under the project number. Until a project is created, work orders should not be marked resolved if the equipment is required to correct the reported issue. I appreciate the rapid response of the Parks Department in addressing immediate safety concerns. The safety issue reported last night was corrected today by removing the broken fence section. I would call this an interim fix and not a resolution personally. I bring this concern to the commission to debate and consider on how best to address this concern and working with the city staff to receive data that might be more meaningful and accurate as to what the commission is seeking. Item 2, the standards for playground design, their interpretation by the city staff and the Parks Commission members, and examples how these standards do not appear acceptable as they are currently being interpreted by the city. In an email from the newly hired Parks Manager Bryce Howell dated September 10th of 2021, he responded to several of my concerns. Although I did not fully agree with his responses, I did appreciate a response from the city and his particularly. In a separate phone call, Mr. Howell indicated that the last 4 parks built in the city were built to the city's new park design standards. I received a list of the 4 parks built in the city in an email dated 14 January of this year from Jonathan Nix, the Community Service Director. Thank you, Jonathan. And I took an opportunity to visit each of the reserve parks firsthand in the implementation of these new standards, and I would encourage members of the Parks Commission to likewise visit new parks if they're not already doing so, to ensure they measure up to your expectations of an appropriate design. It is acknowledged that shading to cover the entire playground area to guarantee all equipment is shaded during all daylight hours may not be feasible, but newly built parks are often built by developers as a condition of offsets and where not the city designs the parks. However, they are built shading should meet some minimal standards in all newly built parks. It is understood that older parks will need to be retrofitted as funds become available, but there is no excuse for newly built parks to fail utterly in providing shade on 2/3 of the equipment during most of the day. Of the list of the 4 parks provided me by Mr. Nix, the director of the Community Service Department, I found the shade over the playground equipment at Central Park, located at 30268 Civic Plaza Drive, to be unacceptable. A very small amount of shade directly above the equipment is over less than half of the equipment, and the angle of the sun from the south renders even that minimal shade of questionable value. I specifically encourage the members of this commission to visit that park specifically, reportedly built to the new standards, before the next Parks Commission meeting, so that there can be debate on it and the standards under which it was built, which meeting I plan to attend, and look forward to the opinions of this body. The Park Development Design Guidelines dated March 2015, available on the city's website, contain the specifications for construction. In the opening goal, section 1.2 under function, it states parks should be designed for all community members to use and enjoy the facilities, close quote. Under health and safety, it states, quote, parks should be a safe place for citizens of all ages to enjoy. As such, parks should be designed and located to minimize risk from both natural and man-made hazards, close quote. Section 2.11 of the design standards under modular play equipment state, play structures shall include integral shading coverings to provide shading over a substantial portion of the structure during the hottest part of the day, end quote. It is to this standard I have concern regarding its interpretation and implementation. Shading that appears aesthetically pleasing but is functionally useless is not a good investment, nor does it further the goals previously stipulated in this document. The south orientation of the sun does not appear to be considered, and unless the sun is directly overhead, seldom if ever, most shading does not take this into account in its placement to achieve maximum benefit. Central Park is a prime example. These comments,
Mr. Gilmore,
along with Google Map pictures of play area coverings.
Mr. Gilmore,
Yeah.
Chair Bengal is calling for a point of order.
can you
If I may clarify, I believe Mr. Gilmore is providing public comments on agendized items, and we didn't make it clear at the beginning that this area's public comment is for non-agendized items.
Right.
These are not agendized. There's
One
no
is.
specific item in the agenda that I looked at that covers the park shading design standards.
So, Mr. Gilmore, to clarify, if you're talking about non-agendized items, you have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. So we did allow you to go quite a bit longer than that.
Okay, it said 3 minutes per item, but that's fine. Okay, thank you very much. And I'm basically concluded anyway. I'll leave these comments.
Definitely, we'll take your written comments. Thank you.
I do want to point out for the speaker that staff did address, and you'll see it in the new agenda under 9.7 maintenance. They used a new word. It's not deferred. It's called pending. That's the word they chose, and that works for me. So I think they did address my concerns anyway. So I want to thank them for that. And it would be helpful to see the comments. I imagine, like, much like me, the other commissioners were having a little trouble hearing all of the comments, Jonathan. So if we can get a copy of his notes, I think we'd all appreciate it.
Yes, Mr. Gilmore is going to hand that over to me, and then we'll scan it and send and email it out to all the commissioners so you have it for the record.
Thank you so much. Okay, moving on. We have discussion item. We didn't have any other public comments. That's correct?
No other public comments and no other submissions online either.
Wonderful. Okay, we have discussion item, rediscover Menifee Parks and Parks Master Plan update.
Ms. Mitchell, provide this update.
Can everybody hear me okay? I guess no news is good news.
Yes.
Okay. So we have a PowerPoint here that we're going to go through a little bit. I know we have the staff report that was in the agenda packet. So first off, we just wanted to give a brief overview of the Parks, Open Space, Trails, and Recreation Master Plan. Just kind of to give you an idea of the history of it. Some of our commissioners that are currently on the commission actually assisted in the creation of the initial master plan, which was presented to PRTC back in May 2015 and then officially adopted by City Council in March of 2016. So that really kind of laid the groundwork for the direction for our brand new community services department, and specifically with park development and some of our goals that we should be looking towards accomplishing within the next 5 years. So moving forward, in March 2021, our city council, who has their strategic visioning update, they kind of reviewed what we've currently done as our department, and as a part of city council goals, decided that it would be a really great opportunity for us to update our parks, our open space, trails, and recreation master plan, because we've grown a lot as a city over the last 5-6 years. So making that a comment and adding it to our list of tasks to complete is the update of our master plan. And then more recently, in May of 2021, PRTC had created an ad hoc committee specifically to kind of be some time and take a look at the master plan, kind of identify areas that, things that we've already accomplished, what direction we should be looking to next into the future. So having that ad hoc committee kind of will help steer and give direction to the commission as well as community services department. And then with that, our most recent update to PRTC was in September 2021. We were able to share some of the successes of our department in terms of park development, increasing of acreage, recreation programs, which were previously non-existent, things of that nature. So it was really great to be able to share, how far we've come as a department and an agency. So that kind of brings us to our next step where, that went really fast and really far. Okay, so that kind of brings us to our next step where we were hoping to, get this information out there. So one thing we've heard a lot in the recent past with a number of different surveys and, a lot of things going on, things with redistricting, CDBG had a survey, is that, people just don't really hear what we have sometimes, so they think it's not available. So, and kind of gearing up for Parks Make Life Better Month in July and trying to figure out a way to get more information out and reach the public, we had decided to look at a Rediscovering Menifee Parks campaign. So we contracted with a consultant, JPW Communication, to kind of work with us on developing some print, social media, various different press release type templates to kind of help us, have a steady backbone of how do we push this information out to the public and really help the public know what Menifee Parks has to offer. So here are just a couple examples that we have of the print. You'll see this, the map is typically in the Menifee Matters. You'll see that every quarter. And then we have some additional social media posts that we're looking to utilize because of the whole Rediscover Menifee Parks. It really plays in line with the master plan update. So we're looking to use a lot of these images when we start marketing to the public, trying to engage them in participating in some of our workshops, participating in some of our surveys, trying to get the public engagement really up there, because I think at one of our last few meetings, it was noted that, of a city our size, we didn't really get as much input as we'd like. And so how do we get 100,000 of our residents to really pay attention and assess what their needs are? So and then here we have what was developed as a pocket brochure. So this is something that we work with JPW closely with to kind of identify our current park amenities and how do we display it in a way that someone can just take it and go and visit one of their local parks. So you'll see on this, it's a little hard to tell. I wish, I could hand you this brochure in person, but it's a foldable map. So it's a page that folds up into multiple sizes, starting out at the pocket size where there's general information about our department, general information, statistics about our parks and our acreage and our amenities. and then kind of opening up into which parks have which type of amenities, whether there's a restroom there, whether there's park shelters, tennis courts, basketball courts, and then the locations of our parks. So this is our pocket brochure that we're looking to send out to the public and make available to the public so they can just take it and go and really get an opportunity to rediscover Menifee parks. So with all that being said, kind of where we've been and what we've kind of talked about in the last few meetings, we're talking about some of our next steps. As I mentioned, we worked with a consultant to do some of the design elements that we're looking for this master plan update, but what we really need is somebody who's going to be able to assist us in developing some of the systems we're going to use to engage the public to update that master plan. So really a validated statistical valid survey is what we're looking for, and then ultimately an update to the master plan document. So because of that, we issued a request for proposal that was issued in December 22nd and actually closed on the 31st of January. And proposals are currently under evaluation, so I can't give you any information about that. But with that being said, we understand that what we had initially budgeted for this fiscal year clearly isn't going to be enough for us to be able to develop the comprehensive and cohesive master plan that takes the public engagement that we're seeking. So we are asking for an additional allocation of $100,000, which would be required to award this contract once we select a consultant. So we have our staff recommendation, which is that commission recommend to City Council the additional allocation of the $100,000 at the fiscal year 21-22 mid-year update, which is currently scheduled to go to City Council on March 2nd. So that concludes my report. We're available to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, I see we have Commissioner Giedroyce.
Good.
Oh, a couple of thoughts on this. The rediscovery part comes back to something I'd asked about a while ago, and it's been on our list of to-dos, which is signage, so that the public can drive down Newport Road or whatever avenue and say, oh yeah, on the left is a park. We've never acted on that yet, but I think that needs to be taken care of in conjunction with coming out with this brochure. Make it as easy as possible for people to find these places. Secondly, I'd like to ask, if we're asking for an additional $100,000, how much have we already budgeted towards this? I will wait to hear. Thank you.
I apologize. We're having a little bit of trouble hearing. The first item, as far as signage, there's actually a separate design contract for signage that's through economic development that's working on citywide signage, including parks and right-of-way signage, how to get to destinations. So that's already being worked on. We're going to provide an update to the City Council on that during the strategic initiatives that's going to City Council on February 16th. As far as how much was previously budgeted, we only budgeted $25,000. And so when we sought out proposals in that range, and after hearing the comments from our subcommittee, we didn't think that was enough funding based on the proposals that we had and what Mariana outlined as far as doing the proper outreach, doing community meetings, having surveys available online, and trying to get as many people as possible to respond and give us their feedback. So that's why we did a full request for proposals. And that's why we're asking, based on the preliminary proposals we received, asking for the additional $100,000. So that would increase our budget to $125,000.
Okay. Will this body have a chance to talk with the possible consultant who's gotten chosen, or maybe hear about the ones that you're going to interview?
Yes, once we hire the consultant, we'll definitely be working with our subcommittee on providing that feedback. We've also received some direct feedback from the City Council on things that they think should be focused on, and definitely we'll collect feedback. And once we select the consultant, we're definitely going to engage our ad hoc committee to help us formulate what the survey is going to be. We're definitely going to be asking the entire commission to help us with the outreach component.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, next in order was Commissioner Faust.
Chairman Bengal, my question was answered on what was the increase over the initial allocation. Thank you.
Very good. Then we have Commissioner Ackerman. Welcome back. Commissioner Ackerman.
Thank you, Chairman Spangle. Regarding the Rediscover Menifee Parks pamphlet and the map of the parks, are the street addresses of the parks in the pamphlet? Sometimes that, to me, that map is kind of confusing, but if we had the street address of each park, you could just put it into Google Maps and be able to get right to that park. That's my question. Thank you.
Yes, we actually have the very much like the Menifee Matters map. It has the addresses, and we also include all the Valleywide parks as well.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the commission? I have a few questions, Jonathan. Going back to the pocket brochure, I believe that was something that was initiated from a comment coming from the senior committee, as I recall. Did you get any input from them in terms of it hitting the marks in terms of what they were looking for? Or is that still in draft form?
This is still a draft. We're just presenting the initial publications that we have with the commission. We're definitely going to engage in your ad hoc committee, the Parks Make Life Better ad hoc committee, to review these drafts with us, and then we'll move forward with presenting it to the senior advisory committee as well.
Excellent, thank you. And then I have one other question, and I know I sound like a broken record, forgive me, but back some months ago, when we first talked about soliciting proposals, I mentioned that I thought it was important that you have somebody look at your proposal to ensure that you're marking the boxes on accreditation, because you only get one shot at that. So if this master plan doesn't do that, then you basically are saying we're not going to be accredited, because you can't go back and fix that. You just can't. So my question is, how did you ensure that those boxes were checked?
We consulted with Riverside County on their accreditation process. Mariana's had a lot of follow-up with that, made sure that we were incorporating all those items.
Awesome. Thank you. That's very welcome news. I see we have another hand up. Okay, you're going to do me a favor, Tom. You pronounce it one more time for me.
Gidroyce.
I've been getting it right. Gidroyce.
Gidroyce.
Commissioner Gidroyce.
Just a suggestion for the brochure, you might try putting some QR codes on there so people can delve into more detail without having to try and print it all on it.
Absolutely. We are trying to accommodate both those that have the electronic capability and those that don't.
And then one final question. You mentioned you're going through the proposals now. You're asking for an additional 100,000. How do you know that's enough unless you've already kind of zeroed in on a firm? Or does that cover any of the firms if you were to pick any of the ones you're looking at?
We believe that's sufficient based on the proposals that we have and looking at it like about an average price.
Okay, very good. Okay, I don't see any other hands up. Does anybody want to make a motion to approve the $100,000 additional allocation? If not, I'll make the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Do you have a first and a second? All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? It passes unanimously. For the remainder of the agenda, if it pleases the commission, I'm having trouble hearing. I imagine you are as well. Can we just hit the high points going through the rest of the agenda, Jonathan? And then if we have any questions, we'll just raise the questions. Is that possible?
We can definitely do that.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'll turn it back to you. So it's not, we're on 9.1.
I apologize. Let me pull up. I'm not able to see the PowerPoint in here, so let me pull that up. I believe I only had two items. Item number one was that you may have seen that for director's comments, that the city hall and city facility closures were extended through February 14th. Unfortunately, we had some additional challenges with staff and quarantining, so we had to unfortunately do that. Although indoor activities were temporarily postponed, and we fully expect to open by February 14th. We still conducted as many outdoor outdoor activities as possible. We still had outdoor sports available. We still had the skate park available. We're doing youth programs outdoors. We just didn't have any indoor activities available. And we're still encouraging the public to fully come back on Monday, February 14th. And then also, I just wanted to note, there was a Board of Supervisors item last 2 days ago to review the Valleywide Master Plan. I know there's some articles on that. I just wanted to comment that the city did send a letter in to the Board of Supervisors requesting to postpone that item. And the main reason why, and I also spoke at the board meeting along with Councilwoman Sobek, just to encourage the board to further look into that. Main reason why is this Valleywide Master Plan also covers the city of Menifee and all the Valleywide parks that are in Menifee. And we felt like there wasn't enough engagement in the city of Menifee. They received 291 surveys. And as mentioned, we're going to try to do much better than that when we do our master plan. And of those 291 surveys, only 12% of the survey respondents were from Menifee, although Menifee is 50% of the Valleywide Park system. And there's some other concerns regarding, recent tax increases to Menifee residents, and also, some concerns with how they changed the numbers in the master plan. They conducted the master plan in 2020, and then at the end of 2021, they more than doubled the acreage that they said that would be required in the future. Initially, for a year and a half, the plan said that the park, they would only need 50 more acres of parkland in the Valleywide districts. And then in November of 2021, right before the plan went to the Board of Supervisors for consideration, they doubled the number to 102 acres. There wasn't any justification or explanation for doubling the amount of acres in their Valleywide staff report, nor in the report to the Board of Supervisors. And why we found that troubling is because in the report to the Board of Supervisors, it stated that this additional park acreage would be the basis for them raising their Quimby fees on new developments. So we asked the board to please delay the item and give Valleywide the opportunity to answer these questions. That actually did not happen. General Manager Witter from the Valleywide came forward and just said that he did respond to the public, and then the item was approved. So I just wanted to provide that update to the commission, and there'll probably be another discussion on the Valleywide item as we move forward with looking at our master plan, since we'll be looking at all parks in Menifee and how we move forward with that. And that's all I have to report, if unless there's any questions from the commissioners. Actually, I see a couple of hands up. I'll go with Commissioner Gidroyce.
John, a couple of questions. Number one, can we get a written copy of your remarks that were given on that day?
Yes, I can send to all the commission. I provided oral summary to the board, but there's a full letter from the city signed by our city manager Armando Villa with some other correspondence. I can forward all of that to the commission. Yes.
Thank you. I'd appreciate seeing that. I did read in 24/7 that Supervisor Jeffries made some kind of dismissive comment. I'm not looking to get an opinion on that, but I was looking to see if he's a member of LAFCO, and I was wondering if that ties in any way with our current proceeding against LAFCO. I just wanted to put that out there. And I want to thank you for pushing to get the right things done the right way.
Thank you. Commissioner Amarelli, I also see your hand up.
Yes, I had a question for Jonathan. I guess maybe it was in 24/7 or someplace. I read it this morning or saw it, that the judge or whoever it was that decided that we're not entitled to anything. Seems like they're kind of swayed towards Valleywide. Doesn't seem like we're getting a fair shake in there somehow. And I'm just wondering if maybe we have to do something here in the community to stir up the people and get more input. In other words, if we need to get 50% of our people to put something in there as input to protect the city of Menifee and take over all the parks, how do we do it?
Commissioner Amarelli, I'm not sure about the judge or that decision being swayed either way. But as far as engaging the folks, I think that's another reason why we wanted to make sure that we had a consultant that had a robust plan when we move forward with the master plan, to make sure that people are aware that, you know, there's a city park service, and then there's Valleywide services, and then also get everyone's opportunity to have an opinion about that, and if they like the current situation of park services, or if they would like to move forward with supporting the city annexing all of Valleywide, and see if there's and really get all the messaging out there, and collect people's either concerns or things that they like. So I think that would probably be the most appropriate venue to get information from the people.
So we're not out of the ball game then, as far as getting all the parks for Menifee, are we?
Absolutely not. That is still an objective from the city council. That's still on their strategic objectives, and it's still a direction that I'm receiving.
Okay, thank you.
Scott, do you want to go first?
No, I was going to go last. So
Okay.
whenever you're done.
A question for you again, John. How did Valleywide conduct their survey? Do we understand how it was done? Was there anything posted on the city website saying, as a resident who's got a park in your neighborhood, you should come forward and give your comment? Did you have any idea about that?
They didn't coordinate with the city to distribute any information, so that was one of our issues, if you will, that there could have been some coordination. We would have gladly helped and posted it on our social media. We do that with other agencies. There's a project that's just north of the city right now that we posted this week to garner some public comment on. So we do that often. Per the master plan report, they mailed surveys. They had an online survey tool through the Valleywide website. It says something like they mailed out 4,000 surveys, but they still only received 291. I believe from the mail-ins, they only received 100 and something. As far as workshops and meetings, it seemed like they only had a couple of days in August of 2019. So you can even see from our redistricting workshops where we've had meetings at different locations throughout the city multiple times, and multiple opportunities to come to city council comment on it. So we were expecting that kind of effort for the master plan, and hence why we rose the issue with the board of supervisors.
I understand. Yeah, we're taking a much deeper dive, is what you're saying in so many words, as it should be. Okay, thank you very much.
Is that,
John, that letter that the city was at Armando sent, can you get that up on the website for the city to read?
I believe we could probably place that. We do have a section on the website regarding Valleywide. We could probably place it there.
Okay, thank you.
so did you have a question, Commissioner Faust, or is it my turn?
No, I did for Director Nix.
Okay.
So forgive my ignorance, but all new parks, though, built within the city of Menifee will be city of Menifee parks, or does Valleywide still have jurisdiction on certain areas?
There are some older maps that were developed before the city was incorporated. I believe most of those are already through process. So a lot of the newer parks, definitely the parks that we show to the commission as far as parks in progress, those will be city parks, you know, Talavera, Underwood, Remington, Legato. So anything we present to you, we definitely make that clear that these are city parks.
Okay, Jonathan, when that item was placed on the agenda, was it done so under the executive office? Do you recall?
It was brought forward by the Transportation and the Land Management Agency.
Oh, really? Was it consent or was it action?
It was a public hearing, actually.
Was the vote unanimous?
Yes, it was a 4-0 approval. One of the supervisors was absent.
Do you recall the absent supervisor?
I believe it was Supervisor Perez.
And was there a sense of urgency placed in the item so that the board was kind of cornered where they had no chance but to vote that day? Did you get that sense, or do you feel they could have waited?
I believe that's the city's main position, is that there should have been more time and more opportunity for the Menifee residents. I did not hear from the presenter from the Transportation Lands Management Agency or from Mr. Wooder what the urgency would be, and there was no questions regarding that.
Understood. And then finally, would this be something we would normally know about ahead of time as commissioners, so we could also attend and support you, or is it the city's preference that we stay out of it? In other words, I'm kind of surprised to hear. I'd heard that Valleywide had hired a firm. That's all I heard. And so now I'm hearing, oh, the item was approved. So now it's a little too late to go to the supervisors and express our concerns. So I feel it was a missed opportunity in a big way.
Again, Chair Bangle, that is why we went to the board, because we wanted the opportunity.
You have 5 commissioners sitting up here that have additional experience that might be beneficial if called upon.
Definitely, Commissioner Bangle. We'll make sure that if there similar issues arise, we'll engage all of you.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you. It's item 9.2.
Good evening, Commission. If we can get the PowerPoint back up there, that would be great. I just have a quick update then for the parks in progress. So there's the 5 that nothing much has changed. Remington Park is almost complete. If we can, actually, we'll go through, if we can go to the next slide, please. Banner Park, which is going to be, it's a 5-acre park, and that actually has a small little splash pad. It's going to be off of Dominigoni and Lindenberger over here. So that development, we're supposed to start the construction, get a, sometime this month on that park. And then next slide, please. Sunset Park, which it was already past its 90-day maintenance. It's actually looking forward to going to council on the March 2nd to get approved. The only reason that kind of got pushed back a little bit was we're still waiting on a few items from the developer for the turnover, a few turnover items that we were waiting on. Go to the next slide, please. Remington Park is still will actually be done, was looking to be done here in March. That's the one they're but finished, so we can get in about 90-day maintenance period. That playground is almost, the whole park is almost complete except for the playground. They're building it right now. Each one of these parks, just so you know, are completely shaded. These are the all-inclusive playgrounds that both of these have. This one and the next slide, Underwood Park. So there's not just the shade. We're making sure that it's not just a basic playground. It has obviously a theme with it too for everybody to be able to use. The kids can use their imagination. There's workout equipment. There's a pickleball court at this park. But by March, we're looking to be into the 90-day maintenance period. So then we will actually have this park. We're looking to hope by June. Next slide, please. And then the other one is Underwood Park. That's actually right there in this near that same development. This one is a little bit behind schedule just because of delays on getting parts in, but this will be that 10-acre park. It's going to have the light, another lit soccer field, which is definitely needed here in the city. More lights, more time for sports leagues to be able to use them, and that has the walking trail around it. Just the playground that is also covered, an inclusive playground. So lots for things to do. And that's all I have update for these. If you guys have any questions for the parks. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I'll jump in for 9.3. Okay, I just have a quick update on a couple of items. So we do have our bulky item drop-off event happening this Saturday at MSJC, similar to the other events. So it will start at 8 and end when the bins are full or at noon. So we have a flyer there. And also I wanted to tell the commission about something we've been working on, sort of a pilot program to assist vendors with meeting some of the state recycling requirements and diverting their organic waste and recyclable materials within their booths. I've worked with Chelsea and her team with special events to come up with a fee waiver request form, which is essentially something that vendors working our large events can submit to have their booth fee waived if they comply with recycling their organic materials and helping to reduce waste overall at our events. We've also created some waste reduction plans for large events by mapping some of our larger venues to ensure that we have proper opportunities for attendings to recycle their waste. And yeah, so we're just working on developing this, and we'd like to roll it out this year once we start to invite vendors to work with us for our upcoming events. And that concludes my update. Thank you.
All right, good evening, Commissioner. I'm going to go over 9.4. For the month of January, we've serviced over upwards of 97,000 in a variety of program classes. Mr. Nix mentioned we did close, but we still had a high rate of participants in the beginning of the month. Our revenue for January is over 12,000, and year to date to about 191,000. Next slide. As we mentioned, the department did close down, but we moved our contract classes outside temporarily, as well as any outdoor activities that were currently going, they were allowed to continue. Some of our upcoming programs in the month of February includes the Amenity Moves program at Spirit Park on February 12th at 8 a.m. On that same day, we will be doing the grand opening at Talavera Park, which will begin at 10 a.m. And we will have our ribbon cutting, family fun games and activities. So we welcome everybody. On the 24th, we will have the senior lunchbox program at Lyle Park. Our city basketball league will begin February 19th at Paloma High School. And then the teens are taking a trip to Balboa Park on February 22nd. Next slide, please. Some field allocation updates. Our application deadline was extended to January 31st. We had many people out sick, so it was put in regular process. Our regular process got a little bit behind, but we're hoping that we will be able to catch up. And by extending the 31st, it'll allow those applicants to come in. All field allocation schedules will be finalized by tomorrow, February 4th. And for those who missed the deadlines or they are still inquiring about field allocations, they'll be able to fill out an interest list, and then staff will try to allocate if is available. They'll be allocated in a certain field. We do anticipate some closures in March and May due to the field renovation. So there will be some fields that may not be available for a certain period of times during that time. Next slide. Youth Menifee leaders have been busy planning activities for the month of February as well. We will be announcing the next teen award winners on February 16th at City Council. The youth leaders of Menifee will be attending a leadership workshop at Disneyland on February 24th. And they have also kicked off an art contest to enhance just water, basically how well we conserve our planet. So artwork will, all entries will consist of different mediums, and the deadline to submit would be February 28th. And the youth fair at Lazy Creek will take place on March 19th. They'll have family friendly games and activities, performances, and information booths and more. And with that, I'll hand it over to Bryce. Oh, special events. One last thing. Sorry about that. Then for the next month, we will be hosting our Multicultural Festival. It's back. It's been in hiatus due to the pandemic, so we're very excited to bring that back at Central Park on Saturday, April 16th. We will have Spring Fest as well at Central Park. And on Saturday, April 21st, Menifee Better Together. And this is a collaborative with Habitat Waste Management. And we believe applications for the Habitat applications will probably go out within the next few weeks. And any participants inquiring, they could contact the Community Service Department. This concludes my report. Does anybody have any questions? All
Yes,
right.
Commissioner Faust has his hand raised.
Yeah, hi, thanks. On the Talavera Park grand opening, do we have any role there as commissioners, or just show up and smile and be happy that the park's dedicated? Do we have any specific role?
We definitely want the commission to be there to help support the grand opening of the park. We do have a small role for you as well.
All right. And secondly, the Audie Murphy is going to be, the field's going to be closed April 1st to 30th. The teams that are going to be practicing there prior to, are they going to be designated other areas to practice during that month?
I could actually answer that. Yes, we're looking into not only Centennial, we'll be closing Centennial down first, and then going up to Audie Murphy, and each one will be there. We'll be able to use that, but we'll also be able to move them over to Town Center Field is what we're looking at, moving some soccer goals over there so that they're able to use that field. Which is right next to Central Park. The temporary grass we have there is where we're looking to move them.
Oh, you guys got temporary lighting there too, I guess. Or is that?
We have the light towers. We used to have temporary lighting there. The harder part is that they're not, a lot of them aren't tall enough. Once the ball gets, they're not professional sports lights, but we do have something there.
Okay, thank you.
And the good thing, that's why we also moved that to April. It does stay daylight a little bit longer. So, the lights, yes, the lights help, but we're moving into spring and summertime where it gets daylight. So there's a little bit more use of the field.
Thank you, Bryce.
Yep. And then I'll go for capital improvement update. So park amenity enhancements, which is just the picnic tables, trash cans. We're getting some cool things that usually take about 6 to 8 weeks to come. The longest I've ever seen was about 12 weeks to get those. We're not actually getting those till May. It's going to take about 7 months. That's just the back order of a lot of these things, which is a bummer, but we will get those at least before summer for Lazy Creek. The permanent restrooms. So Lyle Marsh just completed the plan set. I just received them yesterday. We are doing our final inspection in-house, so that way we can get out to bid here in the next couple of weeks for construction. The restroom itself, it's just a single stall restroom, has already been purchased. We are trying to coordinate with getting construction and the restroom, where the restroom would be completed and delivered around May as well. So as long as we can keep everything with construction going on that. The pump track, we're at the same as last month. We're still about 30% plans are complete. We had to move sewer lines and things like that. So it's actually running a little longer down the road. We had to get a couple more surveys, but since we've gotten those surveys, we're moving along there. So we're ready. That should coordinate well with the pump track once we start on that. So the pump track, I don't have on this, just so you guys know, the Gale Webb, that is in the 30-day public notice for our M&D right now for our environmental. So as soon as we're done here on the 27th or 28th of this month, February, we just need to have a couple public meetings. As long as everything goes good, we'll be able to start that construction, have a groundbreaking going into April into May. So the Central Park amenities, which is the amphitheater, the design is underway. We've seen that. That's actually moving along pretty good. We're still on schedule with that. We're hoping to get construction plans out. I believe it was in June. I hope I'm not speaking there from our schedule, but those are just estimated times that we're trying to get that to be able to be completed on that. And then the sports court resurfacing, we're doing the Lazy Creek, and I'll show that actually on a couple more slides if we go over. So if you guys have seen the PowerPoint that's on there, so the parking lot has completed. The trash enclosure is actually completed. So they're at Lazy Creek, and then all the concrete that was in the background is paid. That picture that's there, so the doors are actually getting repainted, and they came the wrong color from the construction contractor. So they're actually repainting them today. They're getting installed tomorrow. So that trash enclosure will be completed. If we can go to the next slide, please. So this is the interior of building A. So building A is actually going to be, it is technically complete. We're doing a punch walk. There's a few things that they're touching up. They scratched a couple floor. That's just the peel and stick. They're doing that, touching up some paint, cleaning some things off the doors. And we are looking, getting AC, everything certified that's on there. So we're looking to move into building A of the remodel by the 14th. So end of next week, we'll be able to get some kids back in there that we're temporary at the senior center up there. So it'll be good to do that. We can go to the next slide on that. And if you can see just in here, these are the new doors. Those are the new, the other ones, the new tech room, the entrances is there. So it just looks like a brand new building when you're walking through there. It's pretty amazing. Building B, on the other hand, there was a few, it is almost complete, but the only thing, as you can see, that the restroom that's on building B is complete, but there is just a few, the larger door that is on the west side of the building that actually it's the sliding door that opens up, that actually got on back order, and it's not coming in until about the first week of March. So that's the only delay we've had on that building. So we're working on the flooring, everything else is in on that building, but we have to wait on that. And that's just how things are going with a lot of construction. That restroom is just completed. So we are looking to be able to open that up to the park by the end of next week, so that the park, actually, we can get rid of those porta potties that are there. That mow curb that's there, that's a trail that goes around to the playground. So we're able to use that just to access the playground. Then there's the ADA path of travel that goes around the opposite way. So it's all in cement that's there. That's all I have for the capital improvement. If you guys have any questions on that, or if you'd like me to move to the maintenance.
I see we have a hand up with Commissioner Faust.
Yes.
Thank you. Bryce, is Laladera Park, is there lighting proposed for that in the current fiscal year?
No, you mean like sports lighting?
Sports lighting, yes.
There is no, there is not anything in this current year.
Okay, and bathrooms at Lyle Marsh, did you mention that? Did I miss that? The status on?
Yeah, no, Lyle Marsh
ongoing project?
That is the ongoing project. It is looking to be delivered on into May, be completed in May. So the building's purchased, plans are completed. I should go out to bid for that for the construction within the next week. We're just trying to get the plan step internally, make sure everything's good on those plans.
Thank you. And finally, is there and maybe this is more Jonathan, is there a new date? Is there going to be a new reopening, grand opening for Lazy Creek, the new facilities? At one time, I thought that was.
Yes, we're, as Mr. Howell mentioned, unfortunately, all the supply chain issues, and those doors are specialty doors, those very large moving wall doors. There's a delay on that. Then also there's a delay on all the new furnishings that we purchased for the building. So it might be late spring that we do it. But as Bryce also mentioned, we're going to fully utilize those buildings with what we have. And definitely the building A, which is the original Daisy Creek building that's fully renovated. We're moving in there, moving our stuff in at the end of next week. So when we reopen city facilities on the 14th, the kids will be able to use it. So, but as far as grand opening, we do want to wait until everything's in, everything's done. We have all our furnishings, but we're going to use the buildings as much as we can for the programs that we have now. So we're technically doing a soft opening this month, and then we'll do the grand opening a little bit later.
Super. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Howell, I think it's back to you on 9.7.
Yeah, so the maintenance update. So I know I wasn't here last month. If we can go to that next slide, there we go. Thank you. So we tried to put it more into a graph for you guys to see the percentage of the month. I know there was some questions of why sometimes they don't all get completed or closed out in the month. We are working on getting a new work order system that will be able to generate some of those different system, different things that are on there. So where we have the 4 pending, so if it's the 31st of the month and something gets submitted that night, that will go towards that next month. And then even if it wasn't repaired till the next day, some things get held up on those. We're ordering parts get in there, or we have priority, and it just takes a few days to get completed. But so we had 136 submitted and 131 completed, 1 canceled. A lot of times if it's a canceled, that's why we're trying to get a new work order system. So if it's canceled, it could have been a duplicate, or it could have been it was put in by accident, or it wasn't even a actual work order that was sent in. Some people just throw in some random things when the public can put something in to us for that. So right now, our biggest thing is our park maintenance, and that could be our actually irrigation, but park maintenance, and that could be any kind of park maintenance, something in the restroom, something that's not irrigation wise. It could be at the skate park, it could be anything like that. As we go into spring and summer, that charter will get big, and most of the parts most of that will probably be irrigation. That seems to be the throughout the years that we're doing a lot of work orders on there. But if you have any questions just on this, the work order system, I can happily try to answer you.
Are there any questions? I just want to thank you for doing this. I thought it was kind of sobering to see that 22% of your work orders were vandalism. And that's a real shame, because that's time and money that could be spent doing other productive things. So that'll be an interesting one to watch over time. And I hope it comes down, but I think we all know better. But thank you for doing that. That helps explain a lot better. Appreciate it.
And some of the things that go into that vandalism can be the little graffiti. And I don't mean like gang type of graffiti. It's kids, you know what I mean, that draw stuff on there, and it goes into vandalism there too. So it's not just broken things, but it's still vandalism. But
still has to be addressed.
Yes, it does. And then if we can go to that next slide, just to so that was just the last thing that was on there. So not only is the contractor doing stuff at Lazy Creek, my staff is actually the ones that they're working hard. They're putting all the new trim around that volleyball court. So we've just installed all that. We're actually going to move all the sand from John Denver that's going to be converted into a pickleball, and we're going to move that brand new, or not brand new, but nice sand into Lazy Creek. And then we're breaking out all those old rusted tables that are there at Lazy Creek. And then the one at Centennial Park, you can see the last field that we covered. We have all our baseball fields, the dugouts are covered. So we wanted to make sure we still had one more field to do, and we were waiting on material for that. That was actually one of the work orders that it was open for 2 months because we were waiting on material to come in. We just closed that out this week, so which is nice. But yeah, I just wanted to give a good shout out, because all my maintenance crew, they're doing a lot of work out there. Not just the regular things, they've got some bigger projects that we're trying to complete too. So, but that's all I have for the maintenance update.
Any questions for maintenance? Hearing none. Next, we have commissioner reports on committee activities. Do any of the commissioners have any reports? Anybody? Hearing none, I have one. Jonathan, who's on the Parks Make Life Better committee with me? Is it Mr. Faust?
That would be me, yeah.
Yeah, so I thought, okay, great. There was a comment made by the mayor at yesterday's council meeting about doing like a Menifee Days. I guess there was an event a couple years ago that was a great success at the fairgrounds. And he was suggesting maybe we make contact with the Drop Zone Water Park. And as you know, that sits kind of on the city limits, and that we work with them to have a Menifee Days. So I was hoping that Commissioner Faust and I could work with you, Jonathan, and maybe make that happen.
Yes, that'd be great. We could use all the help we can get on that.
Okay, maybe you can set up a meeting, be in person or over the phone, and we could start charting a course to make that happen this year.
Yep, I'll schedule that meeting within the next couple of weeks, and hopefully we can get that Menifee Day at the Drop Zone this summer.
Awesome. For those of you that don't know, the city of Menifee was kind enough to contribute a pretty large sum of money back when that facility was built for the first year. I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of $50,000. So the Menifee does have an interest, but most people don't even know it's there because it's so far removed from the freeway. So this would be a great opportunity to showcase the facility as well as to kind of thank the residents of Menifee. So are there any other commissioner reports or committee activities? Hearing none, under future agenda requests, do we need to add to that? Anybody want to add to that list, that growing list? I don't see any hands. Okay, oh, Commissioner Faust.
Thank you, Chairman. I did hear from a city councilman at a council meeting a couple of meetings ago about adding the exploration of an additional dog park on the west side of the city. That the Peterson Park dog park is really small, and there's nothing in the and it's not really that convenient for, especially in the Sun City core. So I just wonder if we can add that into our master plan update.
That's supposed to be, I thought, tied into the city-owned property, if I'm not mistaken, Jonathan. Under future agenda request about, I don't know, almost all the way down. That was one of the things I brought up for that property was the dog park.
Yes, we are exploring interim uses for that property until we bring forward the plan for the permanent use. And then also we will be exploring more parks. The council member's comment was not only dog parks, but just more park opportunities in the Sun City area in general. So that is definitely one of the things that we have noted, and we'll make sure that the consultant looks at and surveys out in the community.
Thank you.
Any other future agenda items? Okay, is there anything else, Mr. Director?
I have nothing more.
Okay, with that, I think we're adjourned at 7:44. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Good night, all.
Good night.